All right, let's dive in. Ready to unlock some serious strategic knowledge? We're taking a deep dive into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. I know, this book, it gets a kind of mixed rap, right? Some think it's all manipulation, backstabbing, all that.
Yeah, that's a pretty common take,
Yeah.
actually. But Greene, he's not advocating for that. It's more about dissecting power dynamics,
Mhm.
how they work, how we spot them, and how we navigate the whole thing.
Exactly. And let's be real, that's essential stuff these days, right? No matter what you're doing, aiming for a promotion, working a deal, even just getting your point across, you got to get these dynamics. So where do we start? Well, Greene lays out this fundamental law. Reputation is power.
One of the big ones, for sure. Guarding that reputation, it's like it's your most valuable asset. Like, think of it like a bank account, right? You make deposits with positive actions, and every misstep, well, that's a withdrawal.
Early in my career, I really didn't get this. I remember, oh man, I missed a deadline on this project, overcommitted myself. And it didn't matter that I'd always been reliable before. That one slip up, it stuck. Took me twice the effort to get that trust back.
Oh, classic example. Reputation. It's fragile, like a crack in a vase. You can glue it back together, but it's never quite the same, you know what I mean? And this applies to everyone, right? Think back to when your reputation, good or bad, preceded you. Did doors swing open or were you fighting an uphill battle?
Makes you realize every interaction, it's feeding into that image people have. And it links to what Greene says about job interviews, too. If you walk in with that rep for delivering those tough questions, they don't seem so daunting anymore. Your reputation, it's already speaking for you.
100%. But here's where Greene throws a curveball. He says we can actually use our enemies to our advantage.
Whoa, hold on. Enemies, that sounds a little, well, counterintuitive.
Right, but think about it. Friends, they sugarcoat stuff, don't want to hurt your feelings, but an enemy, they want you to trip up. So they're more likely to point out your blind spots, the stuff you need to work on, but no one wants to say.
Wow, that's a fascinating way to look at it. It's like an unintentional, brutally honest mentor, right? Like Coke and Pepsi constantly trying to outdo each other, but in the process, they raise the bar for everyone.
Exactly. Doesn't have to be cutthroat rivalry either. Even healthy competition, it pushes you, helps you grow. Haven't you ever noticed that? You work harder, perform better, when someone's right there dipping at your heels.
Oh, absolutely. That sense of competition, it lights a fire for sure. But speaking of competition, the next law, it's about how to keep them guessing. Conceal your intentions.
Ooh, sneaky. But yeah, revealing your plans too early, that's vulnerability 101. Gives others that chance to, I don't know, undermine you, even steal your ideas.
Like giving away your secret recipe before you even open the restaurant doors.
Yeah, right. Imagine, say, a tech company spills the beans on their big product before launch. Competitors would be all over it, copying, releasing something similar. Boom. Has that ever happened to you? Shared an idea only to see someone else running with it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely learned that the hard way. Makes you realize you got to be strategic about what you share and who you share it with. Which, you know what? This actually leads us perfectly to the next law. Say, less than necessary.
The power of mystery. It's about economy of words, too. Sometimes, talking too much, it can actually dilute your message. Makes you sound less authoritative. Silence can speak volumes.
I see this all the time in meetings. The people who command the most attention, they're not the ones who talk the most. They choose their words carefully. It's like their words carry more weight because they're not constantly chattering away.
Right. Creates intrigue, makes people lean in. Greene actually uses a negotiation scenario to illustrate this.
Yeah.
The person who talks less often ends up with a better deal because they're not giving away too much information.
It's all about controlling that information flow, keeping that air of mystery. And you know what? This ties in beautifully with the next law, which seems to be about stepping back altogether. Master the art of withdrawal.
Interesting, right. Because he's saying that being constantly available, it actually lessens your value. Like being on call all the time. If you're always there, ready to jump, people, they start taking you for granted.
I think everyone can relate to that in this digital age. If you're always the first to reply to a text message, people might start taking those quick replies for granted. But wait a bit longer, suddenly your response means more.
Exactly. Doesn't mean you disappear completely. Strategic withdrawal, that's the key. Recharge, you come back, your value's gone up. Greene even tells a story about a leader who, by stepping back from a chaotic situation, regained control of the narrative. He wasn't getting sucked into the back and forth so he could see the bigger picture. Made a more strategic move when he came back in.
So it's like creating that vacuum, right? People drawn to you instead of you chasing after them. Have you ever noticed that? Taking a step back from a situation, work, relationships, whatever, and suddenly you have more clarity, more control.
Totally. Stepping back gives you that fresh perspective. You see things more objectively.
Hmm.
Like you're working on a painting, you take a break, come back, you see things you missed before.
It's about creating that space, letting things breathe. But while mastering withdrawal is about strategic absence, the next law seems to advocate for the opposite court, attention at all costs. Wouldn't these contradict each other?
Well, not really. It's about knowing when to be visible, when to hold back. Think of it this way. If you're always seeking attention, it gets diluted, it loses its impact. But you make strategic appearances, suddenly you're more noteworthy.
So it's not about being the loudest voice or constantly trying to be the center of attention. It's more like you cultivate a presence that commands attention when it matters.
Exactly. Think about someone like Steve Jobs. He wasn't always in the spotlight, but when he did appear, people hung on his every word. It's about building that anticipation, making sure your moments count.
Make your presence count, not just be present all the time. I think that can be applied to so many areas of life. Personal branding, social media. You don't have to be constantly posting or talking to be influential. Sometimes less is more.
Absolutely. Now, this next law might make you raise an eyebrow. It's one of the most discussed and debated. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
I have to admit, when I first read that one, it felt a little morally ambiguous, even a bit sneaky. But then I started thinking about it in the context of teamwork and leadership.
You're on the right track. It's not about being lazy or taking advantage of people. It's about recognizing that you can't do everything yourself. Delegation is crucial for success. A good leader surrounds themselves with capable people, empowers them to do their best work, and then guides and supports them along the way.
It's like being the architect of a building. You have the vision, but you rely on skilled builders, electricians, plumbers to bring it to life.
Exactly. And when the building is finished, you take pride in the collective accomplishment. You acknowledge everyone's contributions.
It's about being the conductor of the orchestra, not the one playing all the instruments. But taking credit can be a delicate dance. How do you make sure you're recognizing everyone's contributions without seeming like you're claiming all the glory?
Be generous with praise, give credit where credit is due, highlight the team's achievements. It's not about taking credit for others' work, but taking credit for effectively leading the team, creating the conditions for their success.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
On to the next law. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. This one sounds intriguing, but also a bit manipulative.
Well, it's about understanding what motivates people, creating a situation where they're drawn to you rather than you having to chase after them. The bait could be anything that piques their interest. A unique opportunity, valuable information, or even just the promise of something beneficial.
So it's like creating a magnetic force field that pulls people in, rather than having to constantly push your way through a crowd.
Exactly. Imagine you're launching a new product. Instead of aggressively advertising it to everyone, you could create a sense of exclusivity and invite a select group of influencers to try it out first. This generates buzz and makes others eager to get their hands on it.
It's about creating that fear of missing out and letting desire do the work for you. Have you ever found yourself more drawn to something that felt exclusive or hard to get?
Absolutely. It's human nature to want what we perceive as valuable and scarce. Now, this next law is about backing up your words with action. Win through your actions, never through argument. It seems straightforward, but I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
Well, it's about recognizing that actions speak louder than words. You can talk all day about how great you are, but if you can't deliver, your words are meaningless.
It's about being results-oriented and letting your accomplishments speak for themselves. Think about it. Who are you more likely to believe? Someone who constantly boasts about their skills or someone who quietly produces exceptional work?
It's the difference between telling someone you're a great cook and actually preparing them an incredible meal. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. Have you ever encountered someone who talked a big game but couldn't back it up with action?
Countless times, and it always erodes their credibility.
Yeah.
Now, this next law is a bit controversial, but worth considering. Infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
I can see how this one might rub people the wrong way. It's not about being callous or turning your back on people who are going through a rough patch, but I think Greene is trying to highlight the contagious nature of negativity.
You're right. We all know those people who seem to attract drama and misfortune wherever they go. And while it's important to be compassionate and supportive, it's also okay to protect your own mental and emotional well-being. Constantly being around negativity can drag you down and drain your energy.
It's like being trapped in a room filled with secondhand smoke. You might not be the one smoking, but you're still inhaling the toxins. And it can take a toll on your health over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not about judging people or writing them off. It's about recognizing that you have a responsibility to protect your own mental and emotional space. And sometimes that means setting boundaries and limiting your exposure to negativity, even if it comes from people you care about.
It's about choosing to surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you, those who add to your life, rather than depleting it. And speaking of relationships, this next law is all about how to cultivate loyalty. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Now, I know this might sound a bit manipulative at first glance.
It can be, but it can also be about creating a system of interdependence where everyone benefits. Think about the most successful companies or organizations.
Yeah.
They've created a culture where people feel valued and supported, but also recognize that they need the structure and leadership provided to thrive.
It's like a well-functioning ecosystem where each organism plays a vital role and depends on the others for survival.
Exactly. And it's not about creating a cult of personality or holding people hostage. It's about building a system where everyone feels like they're getting something valuable out of the relationship and are motivated to contribute to its success. It's about fostering a sense of loyalty and mutual dependence.
It's about creating a win-win situation where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger than themselves and are invested in its continued success. Okay, this next law is a bit more nuanced. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Now, the word victim is a bit loaded here.
I agree. Greene isn't advocating for deception or exploitation. He's talking about situations where you need to persuade someone or gain their cooperation. And sometimes a well-placed act of kindness or a display of vulnerability can help break down barriers and build trust.
It's like that saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. A bit of genuine kindness can go a long way in disarming someone and making them more receptive to your message.
Exactly. And let's be honest, we all do this to some extent. Think about how you might approach your boss for a raise. You wouldn't go in there demanding more money. You'd likely highlight your contributions, express your loyalty to the company, and maybe even offer to take on additional responsibilities.
You're strategically using honesty and generosity to make your case more persuasive and build rapport. It's about understanding the psychology of persuasion and using it ethically.
Exactly. Now, this next law builds on that idea of understanding what motivates people. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
This one makes you think about how you frame your requests. It's not about begging for favors or relying on past kindnesses. It's about showing people how helping you will benefit them as well.
Precisely. It's about creating a win-win situation where everyone feels like they're getting something valuable out of the exchange. People are far more likely to help you if they see a clear benefit for themselves, even if it's something small.
It could be an opportunity to learn something new, gain recognition, or simply strengthen the relationship. It's about highlighting the mutual benefits rather than just focusing on your own needs.
Exactly. This brings us to a law that might seem a bit sneaky at first. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't that sound a bit deceptive?
I have to admit that was my initial reaction, but then I realized it's not about being deceitful or malicious. It's about being observant and gathering information before making a move. It's about understanding the dynamics of a situation before jumping in headfirst.
Exactly. It's like being a detective. But instead of solving crimes, you're gathering intelligence to make informed decisions and navigate complex situations.
Yeah.
Think about how you might approach a job interview. You're trying to learn as much as you can about the company and the role so you can present yourself in the best light.
You're essentially gathering information to make a strategic move. And you know, we do this all the time in our personal lives too. Think about how you might observe someone's behavior and body language before approaching them for a favor.
Right? It's about being socially aware and gathering the information you need to make strategic decisions and navigate social dynamics effectively.
Okay, on to the next law, crush your enemy. Totally. Now this one sounds a bit intense, maybe even a bit ruthless.
It does sound a bit dramatic, doesn't it? But it's important to remember that Greene is writing about power dynamics in a very broad sense, drawing from historical examples where leaders and empires were constantly battling for dominance.
So this law isn't about taking a literal approach and seeking to destroy anyone who opposes you. It's more about understanding that in any competitive situation, you need to be decisive and strategic. If you're facing a serious threat or obstacle, you need to address it head on.
Exactly. It's about neutralizing a threat and consolidating your position. It doesn't necessarily mean violence or aggression. It could be about outmaneuvering your opponent, cutting off their resources, or simply outlasting them.
So it's about being assertive and taking decisive action to protect your interests and achieve your goals. But this is definitely a law that should be applied with caution and ethical consideration.
Absolutely. It's not about seeking revenge or being vindictive. It's about protecting yourself and achieving your objectives in a strategic and decisive manner. Now, this next law seems to connect back to the idea of strategic withdrawal. Use absence to increase respect and honor.
Right. It's about understanding that scarcity increases value.
Yeah.
When you're constantly available, people tend to take you for granted. But when you're absent, they start to appreciate your presence more.
It's like that old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. By strategically withdrawing, you create a sense of longing and anticipation. People start to miss you and wonder what you're up to.
It's almost like you're creating a bit of a mystery around yourself, which can actually make you more intriguing and desirable.
Exactly. And again, it's not about playing hard to get or manipulating people. It's about understanding the psychology of scarcity and using it to your advantage.
This next law seems to advocate for a bit of unpredictability. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
It is. It's about keeping people on their toes. If they can predict your every move, they can easily control you. But if you're unpredictable, they're constantly guessing and trying to figure you out.
It's like being a master chess player, always thinking several moves ahead and keeping your opponent guessing.
Exactly. And it's not about being erratic or unreliable. It's about being strategic with your unpredictability. Think about some of the most successful entrepreneurs or political leaders. They're often the ones who are willing to take calculated risks and break the mold.
They're not afraid to shake things up and keep people guessing. But it's a delicate balance because you don't want to be so unpredictable that you come across as untrustworthy or unstable.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're adaptable and innovative without being reckless or erratic.
Okay, on to the next law. Isolate yourself from your enemy.
Yeah.
This one sounds a bit lonely, maybe even a bit extreme.
It can be interpreted that way, but it's really about protecting yourself from negative influences. If you're constantly surrounded by people who are trying to undermine you or drag you down, it's going to be very difficult to succeed.
So it's about creating healthy boundaries and being mindful of the company you keep.
Exactly. And it doesn't necessarily mean cutting people out of your life completely. It could mean limiting your exposure to them, setting firm boundaries, or simply choosing not to engage in their drama.
It's about being selective with your relationships and surrounding yourself with people who support you and empower you to be your best self.
Exactly. Now, this next law is all about being aware of the social landscape. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person.
This one seems like common sense, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's about being observant and understanding the power dynamics at play in any given situation.
You're right. It's about recognizing that not everyone is created equal in terms of power and influence. Some people have more sway than others, and it's important to know who you're dealing with before you make a move.
It's like navigating a minefield. You need to be aware of where the explosives are and tread carefully. It's not about being judgmental or treating people differently based on their status. It's about being strategic and understanding the social terrain.
Exactly. It's about knowing who to avoid, who to befriend, and who to approach with caution.
Okay, this next law is a bit intriguing. Do not commit to anyone. It sounds a bit cynical, but I can see how it could be interpreted strategically.
It is about maintaining your independence and freedom of action. If you commit to one side too early, you limit your options and make yourself vulnerable.
It's like staying neutral in a conflict until you have a clear understanding of the situation and can make an informed decision about which side to support, if any.
Exactly. It's about not getting caught up in other people's dramas or agendas and being able to make decisions based on your own best interests.
It's about being self-reliant and not letting others dictate your choices or limit your potential.
Right. And it's important to note that this doesn't mean being aloof or detached. It's about being strategic with your alliances and maintaining your independence.
Now, this next law seems to be all about using psychology to your advantage. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
This one can be a bit tricky, but it's about understanding that people are more likely to underestimate you if they think you're not as intelligent as them. And that can give you a strategic advantage.
It's like playing possum. You appear vulnerable and harmless, which can lull your opponent into a false sense of security.
Exactly. And it's not about actually being dumb. It's about strategically downplaying your intelligence or knowledge to gain the upper hand.
It's about being a strategic actor and using psychology to your advantage.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a law that should be used with caution and ethical consideration.
Absolutely. It's not about being deceitful or manipulative. It's about being strategic and using your intelligence wisely.
This next law seems to advocate for a counterintuitive approach. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power.
It is. It's about recognizing that sometimes surrender can be more powerful than resistance. If you're fighting a losing battle, it's better to surrender gracefully and regroup.
It's about knowing when to pick your battles and when to concede to live and fight another day.
Exactly. And it's not about giving up or admitting defeat. It's about being strategic and using surrender as a way to gain time, regroup, and come back stronger.
It's about being resilient and knowing how to turn a setback into an opportunity for growth and learning.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that surrender isn't always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's a sign of intelligence and strategic thinking.
Okay, on to the next law. Concentrate your forces. This one sounds like it's about focus and efficiency.
It is. It's about recognizing that you're more effective when you focus your energy and resources on a specific goal. If you try to do too many things at once, you'll spread yourself too thin and accomplish very little.
It's about prioritizing and channeling your energy towards your most important goals.
Exactly. It's about identifying your top priorities and pouring all of your effort into achieving them. And it's not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about being strategic and knowing when to focus your efforts.
So this law is about being intentional with your time and energy and making sure you're not wasting it on things that don't truly matter.
Exactly. Now, this next law brings us back to the world of social dynamics. Play the perfect courtier.
This one sounds a bit calculated, maybe even a bit manipulative, but I think it's really about understanding the art of social intelligence and knowing how to navigate complex social situations with grace and finesse.
You're right. A good courtier knows how to build relationships, influence people, and get things done without seeming overly ambitious or aggressive.
It's about being charming, diplomatic, and politically savvy.
Exactly. It's about knowing how to read people, understand their motivations, and adapt your behavior accordingly. And it's not about being fake or manipulative. It's about being socially intelligent and knowing how to build rapport and create win-win situations.
It's about being a master of social grace and using it to your advantage without compromising your integrity or authenticity. Okay, on to the next law, which is all about self-transformation. Recreate yourself.
This is one of my favorites. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own identity and destiny. You're not stuck with the hand you were dealt. You can reinvent yourself and become the person you want to be.
It's about personal growth and self-evolution. It's about setting goals, developing new skills, and stepping outside of your comfort zone to create the life you desire.
Exactly. It's about embracing change and constantly evolving. And it's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about becoming the best version of yourself.
It's about taking control of your own narrative and writing your own story. Speaking of narratives, the next law is all about protecting yours. Keep your hands clean.
This one is all about ethics and integrity. It's about recognizing that it's important to maintain a good reputation and avoid getting caught up in shady dealings. If you get a reputation for being dishonest or unethical, it will be very difficult to regain people's trust.
It's about being principled and making sure your actions align with your values. It's about choosing the high road even when it's tempting to take a shortcut.
Exactly. And it's not about being naive or avoiding taking risks. It's about being smart and protecting your reputation, which, as we discussed earlier, is one of your most valuable assets.
It's about building a foundation of trust and integrity that will serve you well in the long run. Okay, this next law takes us into the realm of belief and influence. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following.
This one can be a bit controversial, but it's about understanding the power of belief and belonging. People are naturally drawn to groups and movements that offer a sense of purpose and community. And if you can tap into that need, you can create a loyal following.
It's about being inspirational and giving people something to believe and a vision to rally behind.
Exactly. And it's not about brainwashing people or starting a cult. It's about understanding the psychology of belief and using it to create a positive and impactful movement.
It's about being a visionary leader and inspiring people to follow your lead because they believe in what you're doing and where you're going.
Precisely. And it's essential to use this law ethically and responsibly. It's not about manipulating people or exploiting their beliefs. It's about inspiring them and creating a positive impact.
Okay, this next law seems to be about taking decisive action, enter action with boldness.
It is. It's about recognizing that hesitation and timidity can be fatal. If you want to achieve great things, you need to be bold and decisive.
It's about seizing opportunities and not letting fear hold you back.
Exactly. It's about taking calculated risks and having the courage to act. And it's not about being reckless or impulsive. It's about being strategic and having the confidence to make a move.
It's about being a leader and taking charge of your own destiny.
Exactly. Now, this next law is about thinking long-term plan all the way to the end.
It's about having a clear vision of your goals and a roadmap for getting there.
Exactly. It's about setting goals, developing a strategy, and anticipating potential obstacles. And it's not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about being adaptable and adjusting your plans as needed.
It's about being a strategic thinker and having a clear framework for making decisions and navigating the inevitable challenges that will arise along the way.
Right. Planning doesn't mean you have to have every detail figured out in advance. It's about having a direction and a process for achieving your goals.
Okay, this next law is a bit more subtle. Make your accomplishments seem effortless.
It's about understanding that people are more impressed by things that seem effortless. If you make it look easy, people will assume you're naturally talented and gifted.
It's about being graceful and making it look like you're not even trying.
Exactly. And it's not about being lazy or avoiding hard work. It's about mastering your craft to the point where it seems effortless. Think about a world-class athlete or a virtuoso musician. They make it look so easy, but we know they've spent years honing their skills.
It's about being so good at what you do that it seems like second nature.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this law doesn't mean you should hide your hard work. It's about presenting yourself in a confident and polished way.
Okay, on to the next law. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal.
This one is about understanding that the person who controls the options has the power. If you can limit the choices available to others, you can steer them in the direction you want them to go.
It's about setting the agenda and framing the choices.
Exactly. It's about being strategic and thinking ahead. And it's not about being manipulative or controlling. It's about being a leader and guiding people towards a desired outcome.
It's about being a strategic thinker and understanding how to influence people's decisions without forcing them to do anything against their will.
Right. This next law is all about tapping into people's desires. Play to people's fantasies.
This one sounds a bit dreamy, but I can see how it applies to marketing and persuasion.
Absolutely. It's about understanding that people are more likely to buy into something if it appeals to their fantasies and desires. If you can tap into their deepest desires and offer them something that seems too good to be true, you can win them over.
It's about creating an illusion of something desirable, something that speaks to people's aspirations and dreams.
Exactly. And it's not about lying or deceiving people. It's about understanding what they want and presenting it in a compelling way. Think about successful advertising campaigns or charismatic leaders. They often appeal to people's emotions and aspirations.
It's about being a master storyteller and creating a compelling narrative that resonates with people's desires.
Exactly. And it's essential to use this law ethically and responsibly. It's not about exploiting people's fantasies or creating false hopes. It's about inspiring them and offering them something they truly value.
This next law sounds a bit like we're entering the realm of espionage. Discover each man's thumbscrew.
It does sound a bit sinister, doesn't it? But it's really about understanding people's weaknesses and motivations. Everyone has a thumbscrew, a pressure point that can be used to influence their behavior.
So it's about figuring out what makes people tick and using that knowledge to your advantage.
Exactly. And it's not about exploiting people or taking advantage of their weaknesses. It's about understanding what motivates them and using that knowledge to build relationships and influence outcomes.
It's about being a student of human nature and understanding the psychology of persuasion.
Exactly. But it's important to use this knowledge ethically and responsibly. It's not about manipulating people or using their weaknesses against them. It's about understanding what drives them and building genuine relationships based on mutual respect and understanding.
Okay, on to the next law. Seems to be about projecting an air of confidence and authority. Be royal in your own fashion act, like a king, to be treated like one.
It is. It's about recognizing that confidence and self-assurance are contagious. If you act like you're important and deserving of respect, people will treat you that way.
It's about carrying yourself with dignity and grace and projecting an air of authority that commands respect.
Exactly. Think about the most respected leaders and figures in history. They often had a regal presence and a quiet confidence that inspired others.
It's not about being arrogant or condescending. It's about embodying the qualities of a leader and commanding respect through your actions and demeanor.
Exactly. And this doesn't mean you have to be born into royalty or have a fancy title. It's about cultivating an inner confidence and letting it shine through in your interactions with others.
Okay, on to a law that seems to be all about strategy and patience. Master the art of timing.
It is. It's about recognizing that timing is everything. If you act too early, you'll be unprepared and likely fail. If you act too late, you'll miss the opportunity.
It's about knowing when to strike and when to wait, when to hold back and when to push forward.
Exactly. It's about being patient and observant, waiting for the right moment to make your move. And it's not about being passive or procrastinating. It's about being strategic and striking when the iron is hot.
It's about being a master strategist and knowing when to seize the moment.
Right. And timing isn't just about external factors. It's also about being in tune with your own internal rhythm and knowing when you're ready to act.
This next law seems to be about letting go and moving on. Things you cannot have, ignoring them, is the best revenge.
It is. It's about recognizing that sometimes the best way to deal with something you can't have is to simply ignore it. The more attention you give it, the more power you give it over you.
It's about accepting that some things are beyond your control and choosing to focus your energy on what you can achieve.
Exactly. And it's not about being apathetic or giving up. It's about being strategic and focusing your energy on what matters.
It's about being resilient and not letting setbacks define you. It's about choosing to move forward rather than dwelling on what you can't change.
Exactly. This next law seems to be about capturing people's attention and imagination. Create compelling spectacles.
It sounds a bit flashy, but I think it's really about understanding the power of visual imagery and symbolism. People are naturally drawn to things that are visually appealing and memorable.
Right, and it's not about being superficial or flashy. It's about using imagery and symbolism to convey a message and create an emotional connection. Think about historical events, religious ceremonies, or even political rallies. They often use spectacle and symbolism to create a sense of awe and wonder.
It's about being a master of presentation and using visual imagery to your advantage.
Exactly. And this doesn't mean you have to be an artist or a performer. It's about being creative and finding ways to make your ideas come to life.
Now, this next law seems to advocate for a more cautious approach. Think as you like, but behave like others.
It is about understanding the importance of social norms and expectations. If you want to be accepted and successful in society, you need to learn to play by the rules.
It's about fitting in and not rocking the boat too much.
Right. And it's not about suppressing your individuality or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being aware of social cues and adapting your behavior accordingly.
It's about being socially intelligent and knowing how to navigate different social situations gracefully and effectively.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this law doesn't mean you should always conform to the status quo. It's about being strategic and knowing when to blend in and when to stand out.
Okay, on to the next law. Stir up waters to catch fish.
This one is all about the power of disruption. If you want to shake things up and create change, you need to be willing to stir up the waters and create a little chaos.
It's about being a provocateur and challenging the status quo.
Exactly. And it's not about being destructive or creating unnecessary drama. It's about being strategic and using disruption to create opportunities. Think about innovative companies or social movements. They often challenge conventional thinking and shake things up to create something new and better.
It's about being an agent of change and not being afraid to disrupt the status quo. But you have to be mindful of the potential consequences and make sure you're not creating chaos for the sake of chaos.
Right. It's about using disruption strategically to create positive change.
Okay, this next law kind of sounds a little, well, ungrateful at first glance. Despise the free lunch.
Yeah, it's not literally about turning down free stuff, though. It's more, being aware that even things that seem free, there's always a cost, right? Could be quality, could be obligation, even a bit of your independence, there's a price tag somewhere.
Like those free trials you sign up for online, totally forget to cancel, then bam, they're hitting your card. Seems awesome at first, but ends up costing you.
Exactly. Be a discerning consumer, you know? Don't get lured in by that something-for-nothing trap.
Savvy, right. There's no such thing as a truly free lunch. And speaking of tricky situations, the next law, it's about legacy. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes.
Yeah. This one's tough. Following in those giant footsteps, it's a challenge. You're constantly compared, never quite measuring up.
It's like imagine trying to be the next Michael Jordan or, I don't know, fill in your legendary musician. Daunting, right?
Totally. Better to forge your own path, you know? Find your own strengths, achieve great things on your own terms.
Right. You're not defined by those who came before, but by what you create. Now, this next one, it sounds a little aggressive. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
A bit dramatic, yeah. But it's about leadership. How to, I guess, dismantle a group or organization. You want to change things up. Yeah. Target the leader. Leader's gone. Followers, they often scatter.
Like cutting off the head of a snake. Right. Still some movement, but the threat's gone.
Precisely. Not about being ruthless, though.
Okay,
It's
well,
more about understanding those power dynamics, how to make real change.
so about being a leader, how to manage, mobilize people, but got to use that knowledge responsibly, right?
Absolutely. Not about manipulation, it's about positive outcomes. And on that note, let's shift gears a bit. Work on the hearts and minds of others.
This one, it's about persuasion, right? Real power comes from winning people over, not just forcing them. Get them to believe in you, your vision, they'll follow willingly.
Connecting on that emotional level,
Yeah.
understanding needs, desires, all that.
Inspiring, building trust, they feel it, they connect with your message, they're motivated to support your cause.
Exactly. Not manipulation, though, right?
Yeah.
It's about genuine relationships, mutual respect.
Effective communication, how to inspire, how to motivate. Now this next one sounds a bit like mind games. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect.
Oh, this one's tricky. See, people, they get disarmed, even infuriated when they see their own flaws reflected back. Mimic their behavior, they're less likely to attack.
Like holding up a mirror, right? Sometimes that reflection, it can be unsettling.
Exactly. Using a bit of psychology, but not to manipulate, just to understand how people react, create a better interaction.
So being observant, how to handle conflict.
Right. And it doesn't mean always agreeing or avoiding confrontation. It's about de-escalating, finding that common ground, which, speaking of tricky situations, here's a good one. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once.
This is so relevant these days, right? The world's changing so fast, people resist change, especially if it's too much too soon.
Exactly. Be strategic, be patient, try to change everything overnight. You'll hit a wall. Introduce it slowly, gradually. People are more likely to come along.
Like turning a giant ship. Can't just yank the wheel, got to make those adjustments over time.
Perfect analogy. And again, not about trickery. It's about being a thoughtful leader, guiding people through change at a pace that works.
Being that change agent, creating lasting change. Okay, this next one. Almost counterintuitive. Never appear too perfect.
Right. Because perfection, it can intimidate people, makes them feel inadequate, breeds a bit of resentment even.
Like never let them see you sweat kind of thing. People are more drawn to, I don't know, relatability, not flawless robots.
100%. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, admit you're not perfect, not faking it, just being authentic, showing you're human.
Being relatable, building those connections, because at the end of the day, people connect with people, not with some perfect image. Now this one, it's about knowing when to walk away. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop.
So true. Success, it can be fleeting. Push your luck too far. Overextend yourself. Setbacks happen.
Like winning big, then betting it all on the next hand. Greed, overconfidence, that's the path to ruin.
Exactly. Humility. Knowing when to quit while you're ahead. Not about settling, though. It's about strategy. Knowing when to consolidate those wins, enjoy the success.
Being strategic, declaring victory at the right time. And finally, we reached the last law. Assume formlessness.
This one, it's about adaptability. Flexibility. That's how you navigate a world that's constantly changing. Too rigid. Snap. But be adaptable. Fluid. You weather any storm.
Like a martial artist, right? Adapt to your opponent's moves, flow with the energy of the fight.
Perfect analogy. Be like water. Adapt to any container. Flow around any obstacle. Not about being wishy-washy, though. It's about knowing when to hold firm, when to bend.
Wow, that's a powerful image to end on. What a journey. Exploring these 48 laws of power really makes you think.
It does, but remember, these laws, they're tools. Used for good, used for bad, it's up to each individual.
And that's the key takeaway here, right? Power itself, neither good nor bad. It's all in how we use it. So go out there, wield your power wisely, ethically, responsibly. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.